everyone, and welcome to the first American Scouser 2023-2024 season review show. And as you guys can see, it is an absolutely packed house. We have contributors coming from all over the world, literally. My name is John. You must know me from the Wednesday show, the Wednesday morning show with myself, Timuchin, and Gordo, who are unfortunately not here, but I have the best 9 people for company. So let me actually get this started with. Vishak, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good here.
Kazi?
Just
Living the dream.
All right, Maka, Matush, Trevor,
All set.
right? Matush, Trevor,
Fantastic.
yep, Brian,
Wonderful.
Serzi, and Gali. Like y'all
Fantastic.
Right. Y'all recognize them from the different shows throughout the channel, and we really appreciate you joining us here, whether you're from Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. This is going to be our first season review show. So, yeah, let's get started, guys. This is the first show of its kind. And I guess to get started, in terms of how we're going to be approaching this for everyone who is watching, the format is essentially as follows. There's going to be multiple categories for us to choose from and to make our choices on. Each of us is going to be given 1 minute to give their choice for a specific category and 1 minute to justify it. And then essentially is going to be going to the next person to do so. That didn't make sense in my head, but let me just go through it again. So each person is going to be given a category, right? And each person is going to be given a choice. And then that person has 1 minute to justify before we move on to the next one. That sound better, guys? Right? Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Like this is my first time hosting a big show of this magnitude. So yeah. All right. So to get things underway, let's get started on the first category. It isn't an award per se. So let me just add this on the stage. So what we're essentially going to be doing here is a review of the season. Obviously, we finished 82 points, a few places higher, 2 places higher than last season. Won the Carabao Cup, quarterfinals of the FA Cup, quarterfinals of the Europa League. So what we're essentially going to be doing here is to give a season rating out of 10. How would you go about this season? How do you think it measured up to our best seasons? And please justify why you rated it the rating that you gave. Let's start with you, Vishak.
yeah. So obviously we all came into the season with very high expectations. So in the start of the season, we were just trying to get this Liverpool 2.0 project underway. And then in the middle, Klopp dropped that absolute bombshell that he was planning to leave the club, which is all very heartbreaking for all of us, and especially for me because I started supporting in 17. So is the first time I'm seeing a new manager come in. So I thought all the players would be extra motivated for the final few finish, and we could actually have gotten a title. We could have we were doing really well in the title race, 5 points above. But things didn't really go to plan. We did win the Carabao Cup, which was good to see a youth-led team with as Gary Neville said, Klopp's kids win the Carabao Cup. So I think that was good. So for that reason, I'm gonna give the season a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10, Vishak. That's pretty low, probably a bit lower than I would have gone. Kazi, what about you? Out of 10, rating the season, all things considered, I know you came in thinking that we were going to win the league, if I'm not mistaken. So all things considered, how do you figure the season went?
Bro, I'm 32 years of age. I think I'm going to win the league every year because I have that arrogance to myself, really. But I would say the season was a 7 out of 10. I think it went pretty well. The targets were achieved at the start of the season, which was top 4 in the trophy. But of course, when you get into February, we all dream bigger and higher. Thought the season went well. I think the rebuilding project that the manager did was great with the new midfield. If you actually look at the teams who knocked us out the trophies, they all went on and win the trophies, including the FA Cup. United won, who knocked us out, and Atalanta knocked us out the Europa League, and they won it. So maybe it was just their destiny, and they had their own story to write as well. So that's how football is, unfortunately. But thought it went well, brother. I think we got hard done by against Spurs early on, and then if you actually win that game, I think Liverpool don't lose another game until fucking January, February, I think. I can't remember. But it was like, I remember when we lost the second game, everyone was like, oh, we can lose games. Oh, right. And everyone, I think it was Arsenal winning. Arsenal beat us. And everyone's heads fell off a little bit. So 7 out of 10, room for improvements. Was super pleased with the season.
It's a very positive rating. It's probably the rating I would personally go with. What about you, Mecca? Out of 10, how do you find this season? Any thoughts that you want to add?
Mecca,
I think
so for me, it's if we could do decimals, it's a 7.5 out of 10. I mean, like,
we can do decimals, yes.
Yeah, it's like a 7.5 out of 10. I think we threw away the league to an extent. We didn't seem to be able to pull through the hard yards when we needed to. I know it's nice to say we lost to the losers or to the winners, pardon me, but we lost in manners that we shouldn't have lost against Atalanta and United. So those were disappointing. But ultimately, even if we won the league, we'd probably have to take a point off, or a half point at least, because Klopp is gone. And it's an end of an era, and that just puts a dampener on everything. But as Cosy said, we hit the goals. We top 4 on a trophy and set it up really nicely for the next manager in a way that a lot of clubs don't get to do, and especially with our kinds of budgets. So overall, happy with the season. Could have been more, but there's clubs that wish they had the season we just had.
Absolutely. And, putting it into perspective, we have achieved most of our goals, Matoush. So in terms of how you would rate the season, probably similar to what Maka said or what Kazi said?
Yeah, I'm sitting on a 7 myself. I think you're allowed to let your expectations change throughout the season. I know going into the season, we would have taken a top 4 finish and a trophy, really, really easily. But the fact of the matter is you have a chance to win some more trophies. You're top of the league late in the season. It does hurt a little bit. It is still a little disappointing, but it isn't a disastrous season, if you will. Of course it isn't. So third in the league and a trophy to top, 7 out of 10 for me. I think that's perfect where it is.
Yeah. And there's a reason why it's probably the best and most common answer thus far. Trevor, are you going with the same? Are you going with the majority here? 7 out of 10 season for you?
Yeah, if we were a person looking at a old school slot machine, we'd be very happy because it's another 7. The season started off, I think, with, for me at least, lower expectations because of last year. You kind of always want to wait to see how the new players gel. And while I was excited about everybody coming in, you kind of just have to kind of temper your expectations. At least I did. But as things went on, expectations change. You see that quad dangled in front of you, even with Klopp deciding to move on in the middle of the season, I think was a big body blow to everybody. Yeah, things didn't end particularly well, but as I'll just be a parrot here, targets met, things left for Arne Slot in very good working order. 7 for me.
And that is the best thing, I guess, looking back, Brian, that kind of the foundations are set in. But looking at the season as a whole, as you've coming in, if you could remember how you thought the season would go coming in, how does that stack up to your initial expectation, Brian?
I mean, I think that we all kind of repeating what Trevor said right there. We all can do this. Is going to be kind of a rebuild season and all that. I think that we overachieved on some aspects, but also underachieved in some aspects. I think that with Klopp going there making his announcement right there toward the middle of the season that he was leaving, kind of put a little bit of a damper on everything. But I think going for this quad that kind of get everybody's expectations that were high. So for me right there, it's definitely a 7 out of 10 season for me.
All right, we are just the magnificent 7 here. It would just make perfect sense if there were like 7 people within this call, Sir Z. Please say that you're going with a 7 as well.
No, I'm not actually.
Okay.
so like Kazi, look, I'm 47 years old. So every season, you go in with hopes that you're going to win the league, regardless of who you have or whatever. So, but at the beginning of the season, obviously, we just wanted to get into the top 4 or top 5, maybe because of the Champions League. Given how we lost out on Casino and Lavia, and we didn't have a DM, and we had some guy that we never, knew about. Virgil had a crap season last year. Nunez, couldn't hit a barn door with anything. So
Still couldn't.
and still.
I know Anand's here, so
given-
you probably heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, so given all that, given how we ended last season, given the players that we lost like Fabinho, Henderson, Milner, and if I take the emotions out of the last few months and the overachievement expectations, the fact that we turned it around, we jumped up 2 places, made up 15 points.
I'm so sorry, Cersei. You got over the 1 minute limit, and we have our first out of bounds or out of play here with Cersei. Sorry, Gav, go ahead.
He was going to bring the average down. He was going to bring the average down.
He was bringing the average down. Actually, he was giving it an 8, so he was going to raise the average. And if you asked me who would be the first one muted while telling you how shitty everything was, but then giving a higher score, I absolutely would have told you Cersei would confuse the shit out of all of us. I'll make this easy. I'm going to say 7. And the reason is the 7. I'm with all of you here. I saw this as being something that would be over the top. I thought it would be a long stretch for us. I did believe that we would get top 4, and I didn't know if a trophy was in order. I will go this far. I don't love the loss to both the winners of the competitions, but I think losing to Atalanta turns out to be a better loss, in my opinion, than the United one. We know United were flawed, and we also know that there was a little bit of a hangover. City didn't look like they gave 2 bleeps yesterday about winning the FA Cup, because I think it's still in their head that they didn't have a chance to play next weekend, and they lost to Madrid. So I'm saying 7. The season is a success. And I can't believe I'm going to say this is a success, but we should probably bring Anand in and let him give his opinion. Just don't talk about Nunez or it'll get warranted and we'll mute you immediately.
Right. That is just the perfect segue. Oh, we can bring Anand in. So let's just leave him here. Is anyone out? Everyone's still here, right? Well, so that is perfect. Anand, in case you didn't catch it, we're rating the season out of 10, and please justify. You have 1 minute, like Cersei. Also, great to see you, by the way. I don't get to hang with you anymore on Fridays.
Yeah, good morning. And the lack of Thiago makes the season a 2. Thank you, guys. It's an 8 for me. When the season started, we had absolutely no hopes of winning any trophies this season. It was more of a, hey, let's get this midfield together. Let's see what this team does this year, and then we'll go again next year. We overachieved. In every single possible way, we overachieved, whether it's finishing top 4 plus we went for the league, whether it's reaching almost every single final available, minus losing to Atalanta and United in the FA Cup. It's an 8 for me. It could have been better. We truly didn't lose everything in the season until the last 4 weeks of the season. So I'll give this season an 8. We go again next season. And when Thiago's the top goal scorer next year's season is a 10. So we're good to go. See, that was less than 30 seconds. There you go, Cersei. I got you beat.
Yeah, I got 20 seconds left on my timer, and in perfect Anand fashion, pretty reckless as it can be. Matush, you're listing the choices here. I mean, the choices here. What do we got as an average for season rating?
That is a great question, John. Let me just give you a number here really quick. I did write them all down. I thought we were just going to share it at the post at the end, if you will.
That is my bad. Okay, so I'm sorry for putting you through some math there. All right, let's just run by everyone's rating. So Vishak, he gave a 6. Kazi gave a 7. Maka gave a 7.5. Trevor gave a 7. Please correct me if I'm wrong, by the way. Cersei gave a 8, right? Brian gave a 7. Matushi gave a 7. I gave a 7. Gali gave a 7. And Anand gave an 8. All right, so we're not going to be adding that up and making an average, people. Like, listen, this isn't the mathematically, adept show. This is American Scouser. So we're going to be moving on to the next topic, which I made some crude graphics on, and we're actually going to start going into actual player awards, starting with this one, which is Young Player of the Season, which I believe we have quite a pool of players to choose from, considering that club here, whether it's out of necessity, whether it's, he actually wanted to give these guys a chance, but it's probably more out of necessity. So we kind of have a big pool of players to choose from here, which is great. So I'll start with you again, Vishak. Who do you have as your young player of the season?
In my opinion, young player of the season, I think it's pretty obvious. It's Connor Bradley. He was amazing. Like the fact that first of all, the fact that he got a more GA in the Prem than Anthony, I think we should keep that in mind here. As a right back, and the fact that he managed to replace Trent, he did so well in like every match and he even got the Liverpool Player of the Month award, which for like a 20-year-old like him is a pretty big achievement. Like you don't get that all the time. And his form did drop, like understandably, because his father passed. But I think before that he was like at like one of the peaks of his career. Like he was amazing in my opinion, and I think that's why he deserves the award. Yeah.
That is an excellent choice, and probably my runners-up. I'm personally going to go with Jarrell Kwanzaa here. Kazi, who do you have as our young player of the season? I know it's a pretty big pool to choose from, and mind you, before you start, I'm kind of expecting a left field pick from you here. I don't know why, but just personally, I am.
I mean, I'm just here to get the correct answer. As much as you guys had an answer, it's wrong. The correct answer is Harvey Elliott, and it's still Harvey Elliott at the age of 21 is Liverpool's young player of the season, because he has been the most consistent footballer, apart from Virgil van Dijk this season, of consistent with his performances. People forget how good he is when he comes off the bench. He's changed so many football matches, it's a joke. He's the only reason why we'll probably be finishing in the top 4 consistently, because of him coming on to change football games. People forget that he got the assist versus Luton for Diaz. That was his ball to the back post. He scores away at Palace, which was massive at the time. That last, that kind of goal, that felt massive as well. So the correct answer is Harvey Elliott. You guys can all have all the wrong answers if you'd like, but if you pick Harvey Elliott, you will be correct.
Oh, Kazi being really straightforward. It's kind of hard to argue against that as well, Maka. So are you going, I guess, with Kazi's all-in answer and Harvey Elliott there, or you have someone else in mind?
No, I think Kazi makes a very, very good point about Harvey Elliott. But for me, we know Harvey Elliott's the known quantity, and we've argued that he should be in there. I'm going to go with Connor Bradley because he displaced essentially Trent Alexander for a little bit. I know me and Kazi had this disagreement, but I still think he's the best actual right fullback at the club, not Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't care how good his passing is. There's certain jobs you have to do as a right back that he does better than Trent Alexander-Arnold. So for me, it's Trent. Kwanzaa gets an honourable mention because I think he was fantastic as well. But Connor Bradley, he's the Rob Jones of this generation as far as I'm concerned.
That is an excellent choice and a justification, Maka. Matoush, and this is for everyone. If you feel like you want to mention more than one player, please label the next one as an honorable mention, but we're probably going to be going with your first choice at the end of the day. Philip here says Kwanzaa. It's obvious. Well, it's a pretty good shout too, Matoush. In terms of what you've heard so far from Vishak, Maka, and Kazi, who are you going to be going with in terms of young player of the season?
I am going to be going with Philip myself. I think it's Jarrell Kwanzaa. I think Bradley had a fantastic couple of months. I think Jarrell Kwanzaa has just been consistently a nice surprise, someone that we didn't talk about before the season. Obviously, we didn't talk about Bradley as well. Elliott, to Mecca's point, is the known quantity. We know what we're expecting out of him. Yes, he had a great season, not discounting that at all. I'm just kind of basing it off of going into the season what the expectations were. We kind of felt like Harvey would have had a bigger role in the team anyway. And so for Jarrell Kwanzaa to come in and displace someone like Ibu it shows pretty big signs there. So I think my vote goes to Kwanzaa.
Yeah, and that's exactly kind of hit the nail on the head there, Matoush, as to why, as Kazi loves to say, you wouldn't know that Jarrell Kwanzaa played for Liverpool at the start of the season. So that is just a big, statement of intent on his part, coming in, taking that right-sided center half, which isn't the easiest position to play on our team, considering how much gaps Trent leaves there. Trevor, same deal with you, or maybe something out of left field in terms of young player of the season?
Well, if there's any time I need to take the chance to get the right answer, I'm going to take it. And yeah, Harvey Elliott is a player that at no point when you'd see him sitting or standing, getting ready to come into a game, were you not like excited? Because you knew he was going to do something every single time. And anytime we'd see his name in the pre-shows for actually getting a start, that was always something that we hyper focused on. And if you're a player that can just bring that much excitement to a game, but also just bring tons of quality, yeah. If we're going to say an honorable mention, Kwanzaa 100%, because he took we'll say the totem pole, Ibrahima Kanate, and displaced him rightfully so.
Yeah, and it's looking like the Harvey Elliott Award here, Brian. Same deal for you, more of the same, or you're thinking of someone else for a Young Player of the Year?
For me, it's going to be Kwanzaa right there. I mean, from going there playing at Bristol Rovers. I mean, and then coming back and then and then coming here and starting at Liverpool. I mean, that's a pretty big feat right there for him. I mean, my honorable mention definitely would be Bradley. I think that, to my opinion, I think that Harvey's a known entity. Yes, he's a young player, but I think he'd be more in line, and it's for a different award. So. Yeah, so for me, it's Kwanzaa.
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from there, because I feel like when we're talking player of the season, quite a few people are going to have Harvey Elliott's name on their potential list, Gally. How are you feeling about this in terms of young player of the season? Going with the majority here, or you got someone else in mind?
Yeah, no, I got nothing here. I mean, I was gonna have some fun and maybe say Calvin Ramsey and see if anyone actually knew who he was, or if we believe he's a human being and not a hologram that just shows up at the training table. But no, I'm gonna go with Harvey Elliott. You know, someone taught me a long time ago, when you're like thinking about awards or you're voting on like who's the best NBA player, like don't overthink things. Like, you know, like who is the best player of the NBA? It's not that hard. You just say the guy who you believe in one moment you would put the most responsibility on. And of all the young players, I would put the most responsibility on Harvey Elliott. If you ask me what young player surprised me the most, stepped up the most, or improved the most from match one to the end, it's Gerald Kwanzaa. But again, it has to be Harvey Elliott, because I believe he'll be around for another 10 years. I don't know about that with Kwanzaa.
Yeah, and here in our personal chat, and just for everyone's sake, I'm going with Yarel Kwanzaa before we round out the panel here with Anan, because kind of what Mathieu said, you kind of wouldn't know who he was coming. You wouldn't know that he played for Liverpool, and I'm kind of leaning on the fact that, you know, Harvey Elliott is a known quantity. We know what he is, we know what he gives. But hey, that's a discussion towards the end of this award where everyone's going to be giving their say in terms of who it really is. Anan, for you, young player of the season, any left field choices? Anyone that isn't Thiago going to be there?
Well, Danny Pacheco is up there, like we said in the chat. But let me tell you, Harvey Elliott, he's been here. This isn't his first season in the Premier League. This isn't his first season with the first squad. He's been here. He's a young player by age. But when it comes to experience, he's not a young player to me. He's been there. He had a great season, but Kwanzaa to come in after an injury for Matip, to step up, to keep his position, competing with Konate, to give that really weird speech after the game where he says, "I'm glad he's injured, now I get to play." That was all weird. But listen, for a kid to come in and mark his place in the first team the way Kwanzaa did, enough for the weirdo Southgate to say, you know what? I need you in my provisional Euro squad because I might take you to the Euros. That tells me everything I need to know about the season Kwanzaa had. Harvey Elliott had an amazing season. He could be up for player of the season. He could be up for one of the most improved players this year. But young player of the season has to go to a true young player who came in.
I'm sorry, Anan, you got over the 1 minute time there, but we did kind of get your choice there in Harvey Elliott. Serzi, thank you for making it back in time. We were just talking about young player of the season. We had 4 votes for Kwanzaa, 3 for Harvey, and 2 for Connor Bradley. Who are you going with? You're muted, my friend.
I'm going to go with Kazi. And Elliot, just because he's been there for so long, we forget he's only 21. He's been our best player of the whole season. And with Klopp even saying, like, he regrets not giving him more games. I understand Kwanzaa, and yes, he was amazing to come in and effectively knock Konate off out of that spot. and going forward, I think he's going to be amazing. But Elliott played more games, he influenced more games, and he's only 21, and he's probably the player of the season, or the player to watch for next season.
Yeah, Cersei, and well, that's everyone in the panel who gave their votes. And Matush, what do we have as the final tally here?
So we've got Jarrell Kwanzaa with 4, Harvey Elliott with 4, and Connor Bradley with 2. So for the tiebreak, we need our Connor Bradley voters to decide between Elliott or Kwanzaa.
This is bullshit.
What you got, Maka?
Sorry, because you didn't know who he was 6 months ago. It's by age. Age of 21 is young. That's the young player of the year. If doesn't win this, you can all piss off.
Anyone who voted for Harvey or Connor who wants to change their mind after all.
When we get an arm back and we go back to a 4-4-2 formation, I'll change my vote to my fellow central defender and baldy head there, cause I'll go for Harvey.
All right, so it looks like Harvey is the outright winner, and we're probably looking, and on this, and again, this is the first American Scouser Season Awards. We're probably looking at the chance for someone to win 2 awards at the end of all this. So, which is, it just speaks to the season that Harvey Elliott is having. So, gentlemen, appreciate the picks, and we're going to be moving on to the next category here, which is the Unsung Hero Award. Now, this is very, I felt like this award is quite broad in terms of definition, and this, at the end of the day, would come down to personal choice. Whether it's a player that you didn't expect would come out and light the stadium on fire this season, or someone who has been underperforming in seasons past and all that, just came in and had a great season, what have you. So yeah, this is going to be our next category. Everyone can get your choices in. I will be starting again from you, Vishak. Who is your unsung hero?
Okay, this is a hard choice. Like as you said, the definition of unsung heroes like really broad, and this is probably like out of the whole thing. I think along with the overall rating of the season, it's the most like subjective award. Like I think for this one, each person's gonna have like a different opinion,
which is great, right?
Yeah, of course. I think the award it should go to Luis Diaz. I know, like you all, like I am infamous for glazing over him in the past. Yeah, I know that, but I feel like from last season he's improved a lot he's really shown his dribbling here. He's like given me like Leo Messi vibes like some of the time. His playmaking has actually gone under the radar. Like he's given a fair few assists like compared to last season, and compared to like some of the other players who have been underperforming, like for one Szoboszlai. I think Diaz has been doing really well, and I think he deserves to get some recognition at least.
Well, the award is really subjective, and I'm honestly a little surprised by the choice, Vishak, but hey, it's your choice, and I agree that Diaz did have a better season than he did last year. Kazi, something in that realm, Luis Diaz, someone from our attack, someone from our defense, someone from our midfield, or a goalkeeper? Who do you have as our unsung hero of the year?
I'm here again to provide the correct answer. I know. But the answer is Kostas Tsimikas. It's a surprise, but it's the Unsung Hero Award. And I'm telling you why it's Kostas Tsimikas. Because let's get it right. We all wanted him bin last summer. Let's get it right. We thought he's not good enough for Liverpool Football Club. He's been here long enough and he's not good enough. He comes in after Robertson gets injured and performs fantastically. And gets to the stage when he gets injured and breaks his collarbone that we're all heartbroken because Kostas Tsimikas is injured. And if you would have said that to me 6 months ago, like before the start of the season, I don't think we would have been bothered. He provides the assist for Virgil van Dijk in the League Cup final. People forget that as well. Fantastic cross. Basically wins us the trophy. Virgil can't miss. And he was excellent. I don't think we lost the game that Kostas actually played in this last season, which is very, very impressive as well. Again, that's why he's the unsung hero. That's why it's the correct answer. Endo's been sung. Everyone's loved Endo. All the other lads have been sung. But Kostas Tsimikas has had no love, and I'm giving him some now.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, Kazi, it's kind of hard to argue, Maka, in terms of the Unsung Hero Award. Again, it's a very broad award. I'm expecting quite a few variation in choices here, but who do you have as your Unsung Hero?
I would originally went for Endo. I could see the cost of this one as well. Joe Gomez deserves a mention in there too, but I'm going to go for an entirely left field answer, and I'm going to go for John Achterberg. Because he does fantastic work with our goalkeepers, and there were people who criticised him at one point during the Brendan Rodgers years, but he's done a great job with Allison, done a great job with Quivin, and also had to tolerate Adrian. You can't get more patience than that. So for me, it's John Achterberg.
That is actually a very wholesome answer. I love that, Mecca, because, talking about all the criticism he's gotten over the eras, over the Rodgers era, over the Dog Leash era, it's a little unjustified, And listen, Trevor, that was a pretty great answer from Mecca. And listen, if you got something to top it, I'm all for it. Who do you have as your unsung, hero of the season?
If you're looking for something to top those two answers, you've looked in the wrong place, because I'm going to give you the blandest of unsung hero answers that there are, and that is, of course, Joe Gomez, a guy that slotted in everywhere that he was asked, played in the six, everywhere on the back line, nothing that he was asked to do. He was never one to go out of his way to do anything exceptional, but he always was there to answer the call. And I think an unsung hero is one that you always hope answers the call, and Joe Gomez always did.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to go with Joe Gomez here, but then with the justifications of both Micah and Kazi, I agree, Trevor. We're kind of being placed in a difficult spot here to top those answers. Gally, my man, who do you have as your unsung hero of the season?
I mean, albeit for me to disagree with Kazi, I just argue it's pretty hard to be an unsung hero. If he got the unsung hero, it would be for showing up to work every day knowing his boss absolutely fucking hates him. To me, that's a reason. Like, the guy's always got a smile on his face, and he knows that nobody there likes him. I mean, he got sad at times for healthy scratches. That I loved it. He'd sit with all the injured players, and he would just be sitting there like smiling, like, this is great. I collect a paycheck from this club. I think it's Joe Gomez. When Joe Gomez was fit at times, he was starting at left back when Simicast was healthy. I think Gomez did more for us between right back, center back. And I think you could make the shout for Endo, especially for how much negativity he faced early and that he arose above it. But I'm going to throw my vote for Joe Gomez.
All right. Well, Joe Gomez getting some steam here, Brian. Listening to everyone who's come before, any left field choice, or you're probably going to be going with more of the same here, Brian?
I'm going to kind of feed off a little bit of Macca's response right there. I'm going to say that Kelleher right there is my unsung hero, because, he stepped in at that little point right there when Allison went down. I mean, aside from the Atalanta match right there, he held himself as a starting goalkeeper very well. Gomez definitely is a honorable mention right there because of his durability and how many times he's moved. But I would expect that from a 27-year-old seasoned veteran right there to do that. So yeah, it's gonna be Kelleher for me.
Well, Matush, I know you're in charge of listing down the people who everyone's vote, and it's a pretty varied list. I'm pretty sure right now. And are you going to be adding to that variety, or going with a familiar choice?
No, I'm not gonna make it that spicy. Joe Gomez was the name on my on the top of my list coming in, and that's where my list will stay. I think, given where he was able to play across the whole season, and the fact that his durability has been a big talking point over his career, and I think the fact that he was able to stay healthy and be able to be available for as much as he was and fill in when needed, I think that's what gives the vote to him for me. I understand that his praises have been sung, but he has also been kind of torn apart in the entire Klopp tenure, really, to a point where fans were pretty much using him as a scapegoat for many reasons, even when he was hurt. So I am going to give it to Joe Gomez on this one.
Yeah, and I'm the first to raise my hand here that I wanted Joe Gomez sold before the start of last season. So I hold my head up high, and I was wrong. Philip says Endo, as he really surprised me. Not a bad shout. Serzi, again, it's a pretty varied list now with Joe Gomez, although Joe Gomez is getting some steam, I think, with 3 votes. Are you going on the Joe Gomez train, or are you going with someone a bit different?
No, it's like Brian. He stole my thunder. Kelleher, 100%. How do you feel him for the best keeper in the world? and you've lost one game, which is the Atlanta game. He's saved so many shots. He even saved a shot with his face, and he still came up like we still came up winning the game. Like no, Kelleher, he came in, and I said at the time, he'll get into any one of them top 4 clubs, and I was laughed at, and I was proved correct. You can't have you step up for the best keeper in the world, and we just lost one game, and that's the Atlanta game. So yeah, Kelleher all day long.
Yeah, I mean this award is pretty subjective, and there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer, Anon, with the exception of I know who you're probably gonna be thinking of going with here as the unsung hero. So we're probably gonna exclude Thiago here. All right, just a caveat before I let you speak. But yeah, Anon, who do you have?
I think I'm also going to go with Kelleher, but I really wanted to go with Kwanzaa because he's so unsung. You guys wouldn't even give him young player this season. So that I really thought that would be a good fit right now. But no, Kelleher stepping in, coming in, winning every single game minus one game, putting all those performances after having to come in for somebody like, you're coming in for Alisson. It's not like you're coming in for Adrian or anybody else. You're coming in for Alisson. To put in those kind of performances, it goes to Kelleher. But since everybody's throwing, left field answers, I was going to say Adrian because he sits on the bench and smiles and he's always very happy and keeps the team together. And I feel like that's important too. Thiago for keeping the medical squad busy. So overall, there's a lot of options, but it goes to Kelleher for me.
All right. And so, Batush, what do we have here as our final tally?
We've got 3 for Kelleher, 3 for Gomez, 1 for John Achtenberg, 1 for Costas, and 1 for Luis Diaz. And I did not factor in your vote yet, John. So
I voted for Joe Gomez. So kind of going with the mainstream here, people. I could see some disappointed shaking in the head. Kazi, I'm looking at you. Yeah,
I am really disgusted. But, I believe in democracy.
Yeah, it's the great thing about this show, people, is that you can't really accuse us of bias because this is the biggest ass panel we've had for American Scouser. And again, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. Just wanted to thank our sponsors for the morning show, which is Reckless Coffee. As you guys know, a lot of editing and a lot of work goes into these podcasts, and a cup of Reckless Coffee kind of gets us through a lot of those sessions. So we really thank them for sponsoring the morning show. Now, moving on to the next award. Again, thank you so much, gentlemen, for your choices. So let's move on to goal of the season. Now, this one is probably a bit less subjective, although there are quite a bit of bangers that were scored this year. I'm expecting a really quick one because I feel like I have an idea of what you guys are going to be choosing, although some left field choices are appreciated, right? So let me start with you, Vishak. What do you think is your goal of the season?
I think this is gonna have many people are gonna agree with me on this one. And if Garnacho had not scored that bicycle kick, this would have.
Oh no! I meant for Liverpool. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me just clarify, guys. This is
Yeah.
for Liverpool. Yeah.
No. But this would have easily been goal of the season for the Prem. It was that McAllister goal versus Fulham. Bro, the ball is in the air. He just hits it with his foot, flies somehow, twists and turns in the air, goes into the top corner of the goal, gets in there, and gets us the win. Simple enough. And
it's
from 30, 40 yards out. Yeah, this is a fairly simple choice. McAllister goal of the season. He scored 3 bangers this year, but I think this was the best. Yeah. And I think if we all came on a pitch and tried to recreate it, it would take a lot of attempts.
For sure, Kazi. It's kind of like I wouldn't say 1 in a million, but it kind of seems like it the way he catches that ball. Are you kind of going with the same thing here?
No.
The goal of the season?
No, I'm going for the goal. My goal of the season is the one that makes me feel the most special inside. If it terms of quality, McAllister's the correct answer, or Harvey Elliott against Spurs, probably somewhere like that, or Endo against Fulham. But in terms of how it made me feel, it's probably going to be Van Dijk in the League Cup final. It's still going to be the goal of the season because it's the most important goal that we scored this season in terms of that. The honourable mention for the Premier League, at least, is definitely going to be Darwin Núñez away at Forest. When I thought, we're going to win everything and we're the greatest team in the world. And then after 4 weeks, I kind of woke up and Darwin Núñez resulted back to being Darwin Núñez. But I digress. But yeah, I will go with Virgil van Dijk in the League Cup final because goals equal trophies, and that was the goal.
hard to argue against that, as always, Mecca. It's kind of tough putting you right after Kazi after he makes a great point, although you've made some excellent points too. So who are you going with, goal?
He never. He had John Achtenberg.
Yeah, John Actor. It was a pretty good choice, Kazi. I liked it. It kind of made me feel some things. Mecca, what do you have?
I'm reclaiming my time here, but it's going to be a quick one because I'm going to go with Kazi. I think Van Dijk in the League Cup final, it won us the trophy. And I've been lucky enough to have been born and supported Liverpool for long enough to see us win a lot of them, and they're all special. There's not one. We're not City. We don't turn down a trophy just because it's not the Champions League final. So Van Dijk, it was a tight game. Our kids were on the field. We did what we had to do, and then the leader stepped up when we had doubt with his leadership at times. Definitely last season and this season too. So Van Dijk League Cup final for me.
Probably the hot choice now, Trevor. You probably going for more of the same, or you got something else in mind?
Oh, you've been asking for left field choices the entire time, so I'm going to give you one. And this is going to swerve a lot of people, as I'm a certified card carrier of the Darwin defamation team. So his goal that won against Newcastle, that was the one that gave me that sense of magic about this season, where we were going down to 10 every game, it seemed like. And for him to come on and get those two, yes, McAllister was aesthetically pleasing. Virgil was important in what it got us in terms of silverware. But in terms of putting me in a mindset that, oh my God, this could be a season for the ages, that second one against Newcastle, plus seeing Anthony Gordon cry always makes me happy.
Yeah, left field, more choices, more varieties, always great. You know what they say, man, more varieties makes everything's better. Brian, are you looking to add to that variety or going with more of the norm here?
No, I'm going to go with Kazi and Maka on this right there. It's it's what it's all about. It's winning silverware. I mean, that's my opinion right there. Now, my honorable mention right there will be Jota against Leicester City with Kwanzaa putting that assist in with the little cheeky little back heel right there. That'd be my honorable mention. But yeah, it's definitely Verge.
Big Verge getting some steam here, probably going to be winning it out at the end of it all. And for the tally, Matoush, I'm going with Verge over Chelsea, Verge on Chelsea as well. Before we get to you, anything different from what's been mentioned, Matoush, or you're probably going for more of the same?
Yeah, I'm actually going for a more personal choice here. I'm going with Trent's winner against Fulham, actually. I was in a packed bar in Des Moines, Iowa, during that comeback. Obviously, it shouldn't have been a comeback to begin with. However, you see Endo's shot go in, you go crazy, and then you see Trent finish that off. And the energy in that place, it was electric. It was fantastic. And so emotionally, that was probably the most fun I had during the season, was around all those people and celebrating that goal.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty good shout. Yeah, I mean, in terms of, piggybacking off of Trevor's point, the goal that made me celebrate the most was probably, the Trent winner against Fulham, in terms of thinking that, hey, maybe this is going to be a special season, Gally. In terms of who do you have for goal of the season? And what are your criteria, I guess, in terms of, did it make you feel good, or you're going for more of the importance of the goal that you've chosen?
I'm going to try to get all this in 1 minute. So I'm going with Virgil's goal because it won us a trophy, and this is for a trophy. We are giving out an award. I'm taking the one that won us an award. I think you could say both of McAllister's Thunderbolts, Elliott's strike, Kazi mentioned Endo's. I love picking on Darwin, and it is fun, but I do find it funny if you were trying to talk about goals of the season, you could literally ramble off Nunez's 2 versus Newcastle, the lob versus Brentford, his curler versus Bournemouth, that beautiful deft touch against West Ham. But to Kazi's point earlier, the most exciting, most entertaining goal of the season was the 90th minute 9 deft header off the McAllister chip in, because that made me believe we were going to win the whole damn thing when Darwin Nunez scoring goals like that. And basically, I just used that 60 seconds to remind you all, when you all say Darwin's the most disappointing, that it would be hard for you to think of that many good moments of my disappointing player.
Oh, and that is just right on the spot, Gally. My 1 minute timer just stopped here, and you managed to fit that in perfectly.
You think I might be in outside sales and have to give 60-second pitches every once in a while.
Brian, I already went through you, right? Okay, so Serzi, who do you have for goal of the season?
As one of the veteran Liverpool fans, I have to go for Virgil. Agreeing with Kazi and Micah, it's to lead that team for the kids. Already had a goal disallowed, and he still went up there and basically he led from the front. Both Nunes goals against Newcastle and Forest, they're up there. They're the two goals that almost broke my ankles through like just jumping around last minute, and my wife looking at me like I'm freaking nuts. But no, Virgil, great leadership, led that team. So yeah, Virgil all day long.
Okay, gotcha. So Virgil against Chelsea, right, Serzi? Because we kind of lost you there for a sec.
Yeah, Virgil against Chelsea. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, Anand. It looks like we have a clear winner here, but you're planning to throw a wrench in the spanner here for goal of the season?
That Thiago shot against Porto. Oh my God. Listen, if you didn't tear up when Virgil put that ball in the net, we have a problem. When that ball went in the net, if you didn't drop like a tiny little tear, you're like, oh my God, it's happening. We have a problem. That is our goal of the season. That is the goal that defines our season, because it's the leader taking the kids over that line and getting them that trophy. Honorable mentions, of course, Nunez, Newcastle. Of course, Nunez against Brentford. That chip was beautiful. But if you're going to go for goal of the season, not just by the way it looks, but what it does for the team, the togetherness it brought in with those kids that are playing their first final, some playing their first full match ever with an extra time and all that, it's Virgil against Chelsea. That goal is that's a historic goal. So I'll go Virgil, Chelsea. That's a clear winner. No debate. No John Archerberg. Nothing weird. Just Virgil v Chelsea.
Who crossed the ball for the Virgil goal? Oh, that was it. Yeah. No, robbed.
Well, we have our goal of the season, and that's Virgil van Dijk against Chelsea, people. Although Timuchin here saying that Anand backing it kind of makes him want to rethink his vote for it. Okay, people. So we're flowing really smoothly here, and I'm glad because, like I told everyone at the start of the broadcast, this is the first broadcast of its kind in terms of having as many contributors. So let's move on here to the next award, which is the game of the season. Now, obviously, this kind of speaks for itself. Your favorite game, regardless of its result. It's okay if we lost. It's okay if we drew. But what matters is this result, this particular game spoke to you in a way. So I guess I'm going to be starting here again. And it looks like we've reshuffled the formation a little bit. So it looks like I'm going to be starting with Kazi now. Kazi, what is your game of the season?
It's a great question, man.
Kazi at right back here. Yeah.
I mean, I can multitask. Yeah, multitask.
Right.
It's a tough one, this, boys, because the argument's the League Cup final, and I get it. But to be a little bit different, the Brentford 4-1 does stick in my head. I think it was the only ground that Klopp never won at in his managerial career. And it was like our last year. And we had them a 12:30 kickoff, didn't we? And it was like everyone was shitting themselves. And then I think we go 3-0 up. Mo Salah comes off the bench and reminds everyone, because it was his first game back from injury, reminds everyone why he's Mo Salah, scores and sets 2 up. Because no one loves anything more in life than Mo Salah having 20 minutes in a football match because he's sitting on the bench and he gets really pissed off and comes on and scores loads. I remember he did that against Rangers in the Champions League. He was on the bench, came on for 20 minutes and scored a hat-trick because he was annoyed. So I will say the Brentford 4-1, the Darwin Chips, excellent Gakpo scores, I think, late on to basically finish it. Mo gets a goal. And I just remember it feeling like it was massive to go there, and it was one of our last big attempts. So to be a little bit different from the League Cup final, I will say Brentford away.
No, we're all about being different, Kazi. The good thing about having a great, sort of decent, I wouldn't say great, but decent season, Mac, is that we kind of have a lot to choose from in terms of game of the season. So who are you going for here?
I'm going for the win over Arsenal because any time to put one over Lego Head is a great time. And any time you can put one over Lego Head with your kids who probably just made the communion that afternoon and 2 of their baby teeth fell out, but they went in and they did the job. And it was a typical Klopp kind of, you know what, I don't care about the outcome. We're just going to throw this kitchen sink at this and see what Arsenal can do. And they did nothing, just like they did nothing the whole season, with coming away with 0 trophies. But that game for me, I just love any time professional teams in the top level use their academy successfully, because it shows up the cities and it shows up the Chelseas who are just vacuuming up young players and do nothing with them, to have a team like Liverpool overcome favourites and darlings of the media with essentially the kindergarten.
That is a great answer, Mecca, and two people who voted and two different answers. Trevor, are you going? I'm assuming you're going to be going with a different game here, as keeping with the tradition of left field choices.
You would not be wrong in that regard. And I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what Matoush said with his goal of the season. The 4-3 against Fulham, that was a game where it was an abnormally packed house where I was at. Usually for the big games, that's when kind of everybody comes out, but it was just kind of that perfect storm where there was a ton of people there. And when I think it was D. Cordova-Reid went to put Fulham 3-2 up, you just saw everybody's heads they didn't even get to full sync. They got to about a 45-degree angle, and then we got two, and then just everybody was losing their mind. That was one of my favorite moments of the season in a match that should have been a throwaway that I'll never forget.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I would say that game was kind of like the arrival of Endo as well. And not just the goal in terms of him being brought in as a sub, and everyone was like, Endo, what's going on here? And, he kind of kicked on from there. Gally, that's three people now in three different games. Are you going to make it a fourth different game with your choice here?
No, I'm gonna be the fourth left back to start this team ahead of Simicast at some point. But I'm going to agree with Trevor. I had it written down too, so I'm not just jumping on his coattails. I think if I did an honorable mention, just from an excitement standpoint, it'd probably be the 2-1 victory against Newcastle, because when we went down to 10 men, I thought there was no chance. But at 3-2 on the 75th minute, and you're down in a match that you led twice, you'd never feel like you're going to win. Endo scores in the 87th minute, and then we get the winner in less than a minute later from Trent, and he lashes at that ball from like an area of the pitch. Once again, Trent probably shouldn't be on playing right back, but he's on the left-hand side and the outside of the box at the top end. And I just remembered the look on Trent's face, and that's like the young Scouser in the side. I just think that was a magical afternoon. And I think that was right about when the stand got reopened as well, which brought an even louder and larger audience to the place.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have some steam here for a specific choice, Jersey. It's you going to be adding to that, or you got something else in mind in terms of a game of the season?
I have something else in mind, but probably won't get voted on. But for me, the league game against Chelsea, the 4-1 win. The reason why I was there back in the 80s when we played Forest and won 5-0. And that game reminded me of that. It was just a complete performance. I would have conceded that one goal, which, we didn't keep that many clean sheets anyway, but we completely just destroyed them. And, from defense to attack, we didn't let Chelsea have a say in that game and just completely just suffocated them. And that was Liverpool of the 80s for me. And so on that basis, yeah, that's the game for me.
Yeah, if we're going to be talking about the absolute best performance, I see the formation did a change here. Someone got sent off. I think it's Fischer who got sent off here. Matoush, it's probably the Chelsea 4-1, but are you leaning towards that, or you have something in mind right now?
I have to jump on the 4-3 Fulham, and that's based off of my last answer as well.
Right.
I think it just the atmosphere you're in, the people you're around, having that entire moment, celebrating. It's nice to have the good moments. I remember the League Cup final. We had just flown back from Spain. It was very late. I had my phone on airplane mode the whole day, so I watched the game 10 hours after it happened. Wife was asleep. I couldn't be loud at all. So when Virgil's header goes in, I'm pretty much sitting up here in silence, just cheering. And so while it was still great, I didn't get that sense of satisfaction I think that I would have had if I was a bigger, if I was in a different situation. So 4-3 Fulham for me, with everything that was been said before.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Very well said, Matoush. Brian, I believe I skipped you when the formation did a change, but it seems like we're back to our traditional 4-4-2. Who do you have as your game of the season?
I'm about to go with the Fulham match also. Kind of like feeding off of what Gally said. I had the same thing written down right there, where the Newcastle comeback from the 2-1 win was right there, was very close with there. But I mean, the Fulham match was just an incredible show. So yeah. Yeah,
if we're talking about a microcosm of the Klopp era, it's probably that 4-3 win over Fulham, maybe you would say, Anan. It looks like that particular choice is gaining some steam. Are you looking to add to that, or you got something else in mind?
I'm going for the Newcastle 2-1. Red card early. You know, it verges down. We concede. Gordon scores, and then Nunes comes in the 77th minute, scores in the 80th, then scores another one. Everybody goes crazy. This is when Jurgen said we're mentality monsters. This is what that looked like. This was mentality monsters. They didn't go down. They didn't say, okay, we've got a red. Let's just try to walk out of here on a 1-0 instead of 2 or 3. No, they went for it. 2 goals in the last 10 minutes. Nunez coming in and just giving us hope that he's going to have a great season, and it all goes downhill from there. But overall, that's my game of the season just because of the emotions. Here you are. It's 80th minute. You think it's game over, and then boom, you get 2 goals and you're back in it. So my game of the season, Liverpool-Newcastle.
Yeah, well, I did expect this. I did expect a game where Darwin was involved, and you did not disappoint, my friend. Fishak, let's close with you. What is your game of the season?
Okay, I'm surprised no one has brought this up firstly. And so my game of the season was the win against Forest, the one where Nunez scored that header in the 100th minute, I think 99th minute, I want to remember. So I was watching that that I have a personal connection to that game. I was watching it 10 in the night here in India. It was really late. My parents were sleeping, and all the lights in the house was switched off. Only the TV was on, and I was just staring at it, waiting for something to happen, begging, praying. And then McAllister just comes out of nowhere and just hits it somewhere in the air, and Nunez just flies in out of thin air. He just appears and heads it into the back of the net. And I just started running and yelling and jumping in pure joy, and then I just woke everyone up. I think in my entire sleep. But yeah, that was just the moment that I thought we just done it. We had won the Prem. We had it in the bag. Of course that unfortunately didn't happen, but that was when my hope was at the peak.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, when you look back at that Forest game, you have some mixed emotions. I feel like that's what's getting people away from kind of voting for it. So Matoush just set the final total here. It looks like Fulham, the 4-3 Fulham wins with an outright of 4 votes from this panel. So we do have that 4-3 win.
By the way, Philip's comment, guys, he just reminded me of a game that makes me blood boil every time I think. That's not the game of the season. Fuck me, I'm angry. I'm even more angry. Move on.
And it was poor Joe Matip, not my
Yeah, poor Joel. His last goal for Liverpool probably as well. Move on.
Right. All right, people. Well, moving on, and we're flowing smoothly here. We got 2 more awards to go after this, and this one is probably going to be getting a lot of variation in terms of answer. Obviously, new manager coming in, new system. We don't know if these players, at least all of them, are going to be here next year. We don't know that. So take our choices here with a grain of salt. So yeah, let's move on to the next award here, which is player to watch for next season. I will start things off, and I think you people know my reputation here at American Scouser, and y'all know who I'm going to be going with. And Matoush, please write this down. 1 vote for the Gravy Train, playing in a 4-2-3-1, his preferred system, a system that he's played in majority of his career at Ajax. I am looking forward to seeing what a Ryan Gravenberch can do with a full training camp, with a new coach that he could communicate better towards. So I feel like this was the most obvious answer, so I'll just get it out of the way. Now, Kazi, player to watch for next season.
It's going to be interesting to see Gravenberch at Aston Villa, but I'm into it, John. I'm into it.
Let's not go there, please.
I'm a fan of it. I am a fan of it. But I am probably on your wavelength a little bit with Cody Gakpo, I think, because he did start to find form again towards the end of the season. I think people forget how, and his goal tally overall actually is not bad for the season. I think he does end up with quite a few goals. He's the reason why we probably won the Carabao Cup, because I think he scores a couple against Fulham in the semi-final, if I remember that correctly. So I do expect more out of him. He's had another year under his belt. Unless Liverpool sign Keenan Dewsbury-Hall, I will say Cody Gakpo.
Tim here saying Kazi didn't pick Nunez. I mean, listen, that's a whole can of worms, and we've already.
We can't pick a player who's going to be playing for fucking Luton next year. You know what I mean?
Right. The award shows are all rigged, says Tim. Maka, our right-sided center half. As of now, before the formations change again, who do you have as your player to watch next year?
I'm gonna Shock and Anne probably, and probably Brian as well. But I was reasonably going to go for Bradley because Slot goes for a traditional fullback setup. But I'm going to go for Nunes because apparently he has a reputation of repairing strikers' forms. And I do think there's a great player in there for Nunes if he can stop overthinking things. So I'm hoping Arnie Slot tells him to just close his eyes and turn his head away every time he takes a shot, and we get a 25-goal season out of Darwin Nunes. So for me, it's Darwin.
Well, we got the first Darwin Nunez vote. I'm expecting quite a few here from this panel. Looking at you, Anon. Listen, Trevor, we hopping on the Darwin Nunez bandwagon. I know the Thursday night pod has a bit of a rep against Darwin, but listen, are you probably going to cut him some slack here?
As much as I want to stay in Macca's footsteps and shy away from Connor Bradley, I do think there's going to be a shift to Muchin's least favorite thing next year, Trenton midfield, which means there's going to be a high reliance on Connor Bradley in that right back spot. So I think that's something we saw him in spurts. We saw the promise, we saw the flaws. So I think that's one of the things next year that I'm looking forward to, him getting a full run out and seeing if he can handle it.
I love that you went there, Trevor. I was waiting for a man of culture to bring up Trent to midfield, which I feel like is an inevitability at this point. And
it's the first time I've ever been called a man of culture.
Right, there we go, man. Like, appreciate you joining this broadcast and to have a fellow man of culture in here. Gally, are you joining us, men of culture, as picking Trent in midfield as the player to watch next year?
Trent has a better chance of being the right back of Real Madrid next year than he does starting in midfield for Arne Slot. I'm going to stick with my people on Monday night who all think that's a crazy-ass idea because we have the best right back in the world when he's playing and he's supported with a system. So we'll let that simmer all summer. I could say Connor Bradley. I'm going to go left field on this one because I watch a lot of the championship. Anyone that wants to update me on whether or not Leeds has capitulated and blew it today against Southampton, please let me know. I know they were down 1-0. I'm actually going to say it's Fabio Carvalho because I think he does come back and the manager gives him a shot this summer. He plays in a 10 position. He showed for Hull exactly what type of attributes he has as supporting attackers. And I think we all forget what a good off-the-striker player and attacker he was for Fulham in their 1 year in the Prem before we purchased him. So I think he didn't work hard enough for Klopp. I'm hoping he fits with Slot. And so I'm going to go left field and say Fabio Carvalho.
Yeah, that is really left field. I forgot that he actually still technically is our player. Serzi, are you looking at a Carvalho type choice or someone who's a bit more established in this club?
I think more established. For me, it was a choice between Salah, Trent, or Nunes. Salah, just because of the poor season he had, obviously previously.
Still our top scorer, though, right?
Yeah, and I think he stays, and I think next season he's just going to be dynamite. Trent, it'll be interesting to see where he fits in slots where he plays right back or in midfield. But for me, I'll have to go Nunes just because of Slot, what he's done with Jimenez at Feyenoord. And Nunes, he's got the talent. He just needs to get out of his head. And with the offside rule changing, I think it's going to shut a lot of people up next season. So I'm going to go for Nunes.
Quite a few Nunez votes here, Brian. Are you going to be sticking with the Thursday night podcast reputation, or you're probably going to cut him some slack here?
I'm with Kazi. I think Gapco's going to be the player to watch. I think that with a brand new formation right there, and I think it's going to. I don't think that Diaz is probably going to be here next year, and I think that that Gapco is probably going to go with their one-up taking that left side, and I think that he flourishes over there. So yeah, I think that Gapco is definitely going to be the person to go. And for Gally's answer, Leeds is lost. So bye.
Matoush, any different choices here? You're probably going to be going with something similar that's been mentioned.
No, actually, I'm going to throw out another name, and I think there is merit to everyone's answer so far, and I do. I'm on everyone's bandwagon, if you will. I think the player for me I'm going to go with is Szoboszlai because I think it's going to really try and see where he could fit in this team. And I know, Gally, you brought up Fabio Carvalho. I feel like Sobo could play that role, though. if given that opportunity there, because that's kind of what he's used to at Hungary, what he's used to when he was over in Germany too. So I think for me, it'll really get a sense of what he's all about. You know, he was the next coming of Stevie G when he first came on. In the last 5 months, he's been the ghost of Stevie G, really. So I'm really curious to see how that goes on.
Anon, my friend, I think it's a formality at this point, isn't it?
Yeah. So Dom is my pick.
Oh,
Dom
okay.
is my pick. Listen, Nunez is gonna have a great season. Never doubt that. Okay, but Dom is my pick. He started the season off the right way. We saw what we can get out of him, but the form dropped and he could just never get it back. And I think going to the Euros this summer, leading the Hungary team, and just becoming the player he once was, playing that comfortable role, he comes back in and we're going to see the Dom that we needed to see. I have absolutely no concern about Szoboszlai. I think he is going to be our player of the season next year, and he is going to be our player to watch. Mark it. Write it down.
Oh, don't worry. We're going to have a season preview show in a few months.
Yeah, I feel like there's another 12 donuts on that. I'm definitely feeling like there's donuts.
I'll put another 12 donuts in that one because I know I won't have to eat those.
Another 12 donuts there, big dogs for the 39 crew.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we even got a donut bet here, so let's try and remember that, folks, when we roll up to the preseason preview show, rather. Vishak, let's close with you. Sorry, what was this award? My bad, I kind of got lost there. Player to watch next season. Who are you going?
This is simple. There's only one answer. Nunez. If he does some target practice, if he works on his finishing, if he scores all the chances he gets, he outscores Messi, he outscores Ronaldo, he outscores Haaland, he wins the Ballon d'Or. That's it. Nunez wins everything.
Let's move
Short,
on.
yeah, short and simple. I like it. Matush, what do we have here? We have Darwin Nunez as the outright winner with 3 votes from this panel as the player to watch next season.
Sorry, if I can just say, with Leeds not coming up, if we buy Somerville, he'll be in a player to watch. He'll be the new Sadio Mane.
I know.
Just
That'll be a good swap deal for Darwin Nunez, I think.
Listen. Well, everyone is. Well, at least majority of this panel is going to be looking to Darwin Nunez to kind of light that fire next year. Speaking of Darwin Nunez, we're going to be moving on to the next award, which I kind of feel bad for making a trophy for, but it has to be done, hasn't it? Our most disappointing player for this year, and I'm expecting quite a few spicy discussions, quite a few varied answers here. So let's get this show on the road. Anan saying here that he needs to go soon, so let me start with you, Anan. Then I'll go to Kazi, and then we'll do the traditional format.
Oh, I knew that would work, and that would put me on before Kazi. With the unfortunately, with all the love that I have for him, it would be Darwin. If he puts away those chances that he had throughout the season, we would probably be celebrating at least 2 trophies right now. Plain and simple. Most disappointment for me was Darwin, and I'll let you guys move on.
All right. Well, I love how we just breezed past it. And listen, I know that must be hard to say, Anon. So my sympathies are with you, Kazi.
I mean, I'm going to not pick Darwin Nunez, which is the correct answer, but I am going to say Konate because he's been absolutely garbage, and he's had a kid who was playing for Bristol Rovers come in and take your spot. That, in my opinion, is a damning flaw of what your season has been. I do have full faith in him. By the way, he was man of the match in the Champions League final. I do have full faith in him to be a top centre half, but this season was a disappointment. He has to go away. He has to get fit. It looks like he needs to lose weight and come back and be what we think he's going to be, which is a top centre half for Liverpool. So I will say Konate, and we need to see massive improvements, because if it doesn't improve next season, I do not see him at Liverpool the year after.
That is actually a great choice. I forgot about Ibu, and then that kind of speaks to the fact that he hasn't really established his place on the right-sided center half position, Mecca, this is just a perfect transition here. Who do you have as your most disappointing player of the season?
Yeah, I can play both B. I'm useless on the right and the left, so that's the position I think. I'm going to go with Salah. I thought I expected for a team that was challenging on 4 fronts for your main goal scorer to have the best attitude possible, because he would have marked himself down as a global leader had he led us to the league title, the Europa League, and the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup. Didn't think we'd get all 4. But I thought his attitude and his little strop at the end was hugely disappointing given the momentousness of the season for Klopp. So for me, Salah gets the most disappointing player.
And that's all valid points. 3 people, 3 different choices. Trevor, who do you have as your most disappointing player of the season?
And we're going to make it 4-4 because this season, some people would call it a roller coaster. So I kind of tapered my pick for most disappointing player about the last roller coaster I was on, and that was the Superman ride at Six Flags, probably close to 2 decades ago. And if you just need any description, it goes straight up pretty much and then just down. And that was Dominic Soboslai's season. It came out of the gates. Everybody was singing his praises, everything. He's going to be the next Gerrard. He's the greatest thing ever. Oh, my God, he's terrible. He's hurt. Why can't he make a pass? Everything's terrible. Yeah, that for a guy that I had really high expectations for, he let me down on a lot of occasions. So, yeah, Dominic Soboslai.
Completely understandable. And for the record, Matoush, my pick is Dominic Soboslai as well. Kind of what Trevor was saying, just a big disappointment as to, like, it's just that he gave us that hope of what he could be, right? And the fact that he just drifted like away from it so much kind of really makes me feel certain things. Gally, that's 4 people now. Well, technically, including myself, 5 people. Dominic in the lead. You planning to give someone different or more of the same in terms of your choice here?
Yeah, it's a scary world when you're in Trevor's head thinking alike, and every time I say an answer, it's the same goddamn thing. So I don't even think it's a question, guys. And I understand Nunez's. I started the season apologizing for Nunez. I got frustrated as the year went on. I started to come further to your guys' side, and then I just started trying to be balanced and in the middle because there's so much hate on one side.
Right.
This is the thing about Nunez. He had scored or assisted on 15 game-winning goals this season. So he was doing things even when he was unproductive, having big misses. I ask you after October to give me one memorable moment of Dominic Soboslai other than him literally limping off pitches and having Harvey Elliott come on, whining and looking like he was distracted, and us understanding and saying, why isn't Harvey started all year long? We talk about a kid replacing Ibu. A kid replaced the guy who was supposed to be the biggest signing of the year. So for me, it's Dominic Soboslai, and it's not even close.
That's 3 votes for Sobo now, picking up some steam, Cersei. You planning to go on that route, or you have someone else in mind?
Yeah, I was thinking Dominic as well, but I'm going to go for Gakpo. And for the same reasons why Kazi has put him as the player to watch for next season, I expected a lot from Gakpo. He had a good season in his first season, or towards the latter end, and he just disappeared. Whether that was because Klopp wasn't playing him in his right position or he was just in and out of games, but I expected him to be like full throttle this season, and he wasn't. And he could have made a huge difference in some of them games. So for me, it's Gakpo.
Cody Gakpo, Brian. With thankfully, no one here has mentioned Ryan Gravenberch yet. I'm absolutely delighted. Please don't start, Brian. Let's hear your choice.
It was kind of close for me right there between Konate and Dom right there, but for the same exact reasons right there, where you had young players right here who taken up the spot where you expected them to go there to grab that mantle and run with it. But I think more or less right there, I think that Harvey right there should have won that job right there. So I'm going to have to go with Konate right there because nobody even know who a starting kid that played for Bristol Rovers last year beat you out right there, and you're supposed to be a full French international. Sorry, it's not good enough right there. But I do think that that he will come good. That he I second everything Kazi said right there on that right there, that he needs to get himself straight.
Yeah, I mean, multiple choices and very good points from each one of y'all, Matoush. Who do you have, I guess, as your most disappointing player? As much as we don't want to be talking about this award, it's just inevitable, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a little weird that we've given some players an extended grace period of when they come into the club and others we don't. So Soboslai is his first year here, and he's getting all of this shit from us. Obviously, I understand the peak was really early, and then the decline was rapid afterwards. Konate, for me, Gally, you said, what did Sobo do after October? What did Kanate do before October and after October for me? So I think Ibu, for me, is the most disappointing, given that he was someone that was cemented in the team. He was someone who was supposed to be the starting center back on this team, and he wasn't someone that was just brought in this summer in a transitional period for that midfield, where we might not have really known where Sobo was going to fit overall. So I've got to go with Ibu, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I would really be interested to see the total now in terms of, the Kanate and Soboslai arguments are pretty much similar and very valid. Let's end with you, Vishak. Anan, I already went through you, right? You were first. Okay, so Vishak, let's end with you here for most disappointing player of the season.
Yeah, Anand's probably gonna kill me with this one. I'm gonna say Thiago. Like, what has he been doing for the past 2 seasons? 2 seasons he's just been sitting in the hospital. He's just been sitting. He's been wasting our wage budget. He's been wasting our medical budget. He's been wasting everything. And then he comes on for like 7 minutes in a 3-1 loss which could have decided our title hopes. He just decides to come on. He goes limping off after 7 minutes. Of course, he goes and breaks his leg. That's it. I'm done with them. Yeah.
Yeah, Vishak, you're spot on, man. You know where Thiago's been all year? He's been in the tub. He's in the tub with you, getting extra physio attention. That's where Thiago's been, where he's probably going to be too, right? He's going to be in the tub.
Listen, I did not expect this vitriol. I know we give Anan some shade from time to time for Thiago, but Vishak here with just the Timuchin like giving his own award, best contributor of the season, right there to Vishak after that, and has become his favorite contributors. So, gentlemen, I do appreciate you sticking by as we're going into our last award. And it's been a ride, 1 hour and 17, probably the longest broadcast I've been a part of. So let's finish this off, right? And let's finish this off on a positive note. I know that was a bit of a Debbie Downer there, but most disappointing. But we're gonna go with player of the season here. Pretty straightforward award. Who do you think is your player of the season? Who do you think is the player who stood out the most? And let's start with you, Kazi. Who is your player of the season?
Coin toss between Virgil van Dijk and Harvey Elliott, and I can't decide. So I will say Harvey Elliott because we know the level Virgil can get to. We know where he's been. He's been one of the greatest defender I've ever seen, and the level that Elliott stepped up with the limited time he's had. He's gone to another level again. So it only gets me more excited to see him, what he can actually be at 21 years of age. And we always forget as well the horrific injury he had against Leeds a couple of years ago. That kind of gets wiped out of people's mind. He came on, he changed so many games for Liverpool. He scored important goals, the Palace away being an example. And he's just been our most consistent football player this season. Never let us down. Never really had bad games. I think he started on the right one game and he's poor, but that was the only one I can kind of think of in my head. And just been a fantastic footballer and what a player to watch. So I will say Harvey Elliott.
Harvey Elliott for Kazi. So I did breeze by our majority vote for most disappointing player. That would be Dominic Soboslai.
Well, there was a tie between Ibu and Sobo, and the tiebreaker went to Mecca, and Mecca decided that Soboslai deserves to get the award.
I thought it might have been John Achtenberg.
Well, since Mecca has been placed on the spot here, Mecca, player of the season, who do you have?
For me, I'm going to go out left field. All these players are better than the one I'm going to pick, but Endo, because not only was he underrated a lot, we need a 6. He's the proper defensive mid we have at the club, and you can't win things without a proper defensive mid. So for me, the player of the season is Endo, just because I love he's me in proper, actual talented form. He just works hard and he does his thing, and then he gets no plaudits whatsoever.
Makes perfect sense. Kind of getting some elements of unsung hero there, which I think you went with Endo as well, Mecca, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that's a perfect choice. Anan, before you head out, I'm going to get your choice here for player of the season. Who do you got?
Let's do this. The guys, and I mean this, I'm going to go with Luis Diaz. His involvements in every goal this season has I knew that was Kazi's reaction. His involvement in every goal this season has been amazing. He's taking the ball, he's running down the wing, he's creating chances, he's pulling out defenders. Everything Diaz did this season, minus his missed chances in a game where we needed him to score, was absolute atrocious. But everything Luis Diaz did, unsung hero and absolutely player of the season for me. I had Van Dijk because Van Dijk gave us what we know, but it goes to Luis Diaz just because his goal involvements in every single game, even when he wasn't directly assisting or directly scoring, he was involved in play by play. And if you watch the multiple games we watched, I think it was I'm trying to remember, but we scored 4 and he was involved in all 3. Not directly assisting or scoring, but the ball play, the movement, the dragging the defenders out to the wing. Amazing season for him. Could be better. I think it's his last season for us, but it goes to Luis Diaz for me.
All right. Well, pretty left field choice there, Anon. And pretty fitting as well. Trevor, moving on to you, player of the season. We had Luis Diaz one, we had Harvey Elliott, and we had Endo. Who are you going with?
After being fairly left field for the majority of this broadcast, I'm going to go kind of back to basics and what seemed to be the sentiment in a lot of Liverpool publications, that Alexis McAllister was the player of the year this year. He was a guy that I think with Slot is going to kind of get put more in a place to have his numbers be a bit more gaudy next year. But I think him, kind of similar to what I said with Gomez with the unsung hero. He's not a 6, but he kind of had to wear that shield for a lot of points of the season, and it kind of makes his overall resume not as shiny as a lot of people would say. But I'd say if McAllister wasn't on this team this year, and I'll make Harvey my honorable mention. If those 2 players were not on this team this year, I think we would have had a lot less to cheer about.
Yeah, absolutely agree there, Trevor. And for the record, yeah, my player of the season is Alexis McAllister as well, in terms of bringing in him to this system in which he was unfamiliar with and asking him to play arguably the most difficult position to start, which is the 6, and then moving him to his natural position. I think he's adjusted quite well, even though he did lose a bit of steam towards the end of the year. Gally, any thoughts, anything different, or you're probably going with someone that's been mentioned as player of the season?
Yeah, ultimately, my thought is if you played me at center back, it would make Lisandro Martinez probably look tall. And therefore, next year, if we do this again, I'm going to slot into center back, because if not, I'm just going to keep repeating goddamn Trevor. It's McAllister for me. And I don't think it's close. I think McAllister, to Matush's point, McAllister showed up, and from day one, he showed out. He wasn't perfect all season, but he was ready to play. He was ready to play in the formation. He played wherever we asked him. He did everything we asked all year, and he improved at things. If you really think of it, he had one major clunker. That was when the manager got it all wrong, starting him on the lunchtime kickoff against Wolves, coming off the international break for Argentina, where he played extra time in both games. I think he is the closest thing to the next great world-class midfielder we have, and I do believe he gets better and better with his national team. I think you're going to see it at the Copa this summer. I think he will be Argentina's most influential midfielder, and that includes Lionel Messi.
Wow, that is really heavy praise, and not unfounded, mind you, Matush, in terms of how good Macca is probably going to be. Our Macca's really great too, mind you. But in terms of, Alexis McAllister going to be great for us over the next few years, are you kind of riding that bandwagon, or you're going for someone different in terms of your player of the season?
Yeah, I wish Anand was still here, because I was going to go with Thiago, because it allowed players like McAllister to be purchased and brought in. But no, I'll have to go. I think all the players mentioned so far have been great. I'll have to go with Van Dijk on the premise and the basis that after his injury, we, for a good portion of fans, thought that was kind of it, right? As if you suffer something like that at the age that you're at, you might not be able to play at the highest level as high as you would like to. And I think just seeing him be able to come back and be able to be in some of the peak this year, being kind of back to who he really was when he was one of the best defenders in the world, I think that was great to see. And it was good to have a consistent member of that spine back there while there were some pieces shifting between McAllister and Endo at the 6. So I think Van Dijk for me, though, I think McAllister is a great answer.
Right. In terms of the choices that were thrown out here, you kind of couldn't really go wrong with either a Van Dijk, a McAllister, or a Harvey here, Brian. So you probably are picking amongst those three, or you're going with maybe a left field choice like a Luis Diaz, like Anand did.
No left field here. I thought about right there. It's definitely a toss-up for me right there between McAllister and Harvey. But I think that, McAllister got thrown into so many different spaces right there of where he played at. But I think that the impact that Harvey had right there on so many matches right there just kind of makes me more or less he's the player of the season in my opinion. I can't knock Harvey for what he did. He basically bumped out this guy that we were supposed to be the next Steven Gerrard, and but we already had Steven Gerrard here already. So yeah, it's Harvey for me.
Harvey Elliott, Sir Z. Like I said, those three choices can't really go wrong. Probably more of the same for you, or someone different.
For me, it was a toss-up between Maka and Virgil. I do understand what Nan's saying about Diaz, but for different reasons, only because of what he went through with his parents, and he still came back and he still performed. He kept his head up and he still played. But for me, I have to go Virgil over Maka, mainly because he took up this new captaincy role. He led this team. He's a different captain to what Hendo is or Hendo was, and which Hendo was a different captain to Gerrard. But Virgil, he just that cup final to lead a team of youngsters and win it. And yeah, he has his faults, I guess, sometimes as a leader, but he stepped up to that role big time. So for me, definitely Virgil.
Big Verge for Sir Z here. Vishak, closing out with you, player of the season. Who do you have?
So for me, I was very close for this between Van Dijk and Diaz, because I'm Diaz's biggest fan, of course. See, the thing is, Van Dijk was the captain, which adds a lot of weight, and I think that's why I think he just edges out Diaz in this by a really small margin. And then the way he just inspired the entire team, the way he just led, and when everyone was at their lowest, he just came and clutched it for us. In that Carabao Cup final, 118th minute just comes flying into the sky and scores, which was beautiful. Diaz, he had a huge impact too. I think he's gone under the radar extremely. That goal against Luton, his dad was kidnapped, he still came and saved the game for us. But I think this should go to Van Dijk, and yeah.
All right, with Vishak picking Van Dijk, what is our final tally, Matush? I believe we have a tie.
We do have a tie with McAllister and Van Dijk both at 3 apiece. However, Mecca has decided to swing from Endo over to McAllister, from Japan to Argentina, and Alexis McAllister is the winner of.
Nope. Too quick right there. We might have to keep this conversation going because there were actually compelling arguments there. I'm gonna swing my vote, and I'm gonna say it's Virgil van Dijk. And the reason is I was uber critical about him as captain. I didn't like him as captain. I didn't like how he handled himself after the red card early in the season for showing up the referees. And I think he turned it all around when the team needed him. And I don't think there is a single chance we walk away with a trophy without Virgil van Dijk as captain, leading those kids across the line at Wembley and those kids in January to make us still believe. I'm moving my vote to Van Dijk. That might mean someone else needs to move theirs.
Yeah, so we have another tie, people.
Now. Oh, yeah. No, because I came off McAllister and went to Van Dijk. So therefore, it would actually mean that Van Dijk wins. I think I'll let you guys have the conversation, but you made good arguments, and I think that was what this was supposed to be about for me.
I was going to give it to Pep Linders just to go from there.
Other than John Achtenberg. Other than Big John. I'm going to move over to Big John.
Had a poor season last season. Turned it around and still became probably the best centre-back in the Premier League this season. So it was a twofold. He had to go back to his heights and lead the team and deal with the whole club leaving.
If the season started in January, I understand the Diaz shout. But it doesn't start in January. Before January, he's garbage. He barely plays 90 minutes. He's getting farmed off all the time. And he was nearly crying on the subs bench at one game, if I remember correctly, when he got subbed off because he couldn't kick a barn door. But from January, he was excellent. So I would say I will swing to Virgil van Dijk. You're probably right.
Yeah, unless it's pretty much outright
here.
winner there. So
I
guess
gotcha.
no, sorry. Who was that?
I'll swing to Verge too. I see the valid point.
All right, so I guess we have an outright player of the season, people, and that is Virgil
I
van
refuse
Dijk.
to leave McAllister Hill.
Everyone, before we close out this show, I was just thinking back to last Wednesday's show with Timuchin, and he gave a pretty good question, which I feel like I should be asking every single one of you here to close out the show. He did mention coming in. Obviously, we have a new manager, Arne Slot, coming in. He obviously has a lot to work with, but what is the outright first thing that you guys would want him to get done coming into this football club? It was a great question, and for the record, my answer was trying to find a permanent position for Dominic Szoboszlai in the starting lineup. That's what I feel he has to do. So I guess we're going to do this as we did with the awards roundtable. Kazi, I'll start with you. What do you think Big Arne needs to do when he comes in?
Improve Liverpool defensively. Whatever he has to do, improve us defense. Play 5-4-1. I don't give a fuck. Just make sure we don't concede goals. So probably signing number 6 is probably the correct answer. A proper number 6, like Liverpool wanted to, Moses Caicedo. Liverpool wanted to sign a proper number 6 is probably the correct answer. But me being biased, I would sign Kieran Dewsbury-Hall tomorrow and all go from there because he's probably better than most of our midfielders.
Maka, what about you?
I'll agree with Kazi on the signing in number 6 and then getting the defensive stuff sorted out because the attack is fantastic. So I would want that from him, and I'd want him to make sure he's not making too many changes too quickly to a team that finished in 3rd place, because we shouldn't be finishing any lower than 4th under this manager with that squad, especially if he gets the number 6 and maybe another centre back that would strengthen everything for us.
For the record, everyone, there's no 1 minute time limit here. You can go on a tangent as long as you like. Trevor,
there is for me. There's cake ready for me in 10 minutes.
Trevor, what are your thoughts on Big Arne next season?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick on the defensive run here, and my thing is basically get a more permanent partner for Virgil. If Arnie thinks that's Kwanzaa, if he thinks Konate can get his head out of his ass, or if he means somebody new entirely coming in, I think just having that steady dance partner for Virgil, it will benefit both him and Virgil and the team as a whole.
Absolutely. Matoush, any thoughts on Big Arne coming into next season? His first thing that he has to do once he's Liverpool manager?
Buy a house near the training ground. I think that'd be a good start. Make sure he's there on time, right? No, jokes aside, I think obviously we don't know to what capacity he's going to have for a say on, let's say, contract situation. He's going to have an opinion, obviously, because he's going to be managing these guys on the pitch. Right. I think sorting out the contracts between Mo, Virgil, Trent, those kinds of things are important. As far as what we will most likely see him in the capacities in, I kind of along the lines of the defense, in the sense that I just don't want to see this team concede within the first 15 minutes ever again. Obviously that won't happen, but if we can keep away from needing to come back every other match, it feels like, then that would be a good start for me. So just kind of shoring up, having a better starts to matches. I think that's the big thing. So maybe that's not the first thing he does, but whatever he does to make sure this team comes out on the pitch and is good to go from the kickoff rather than from the first concession to goal, that would be great.
I like it. I like the sustainability there, the sustainability angle there, Matoush. Probably going with something similar, Gally, or you got something different in mind?
It's a little different. Bear with me here for a second. I understand the Szoboszlai shout. I understand the sorting out the defense. I understand all of those things. But I truly believe, and even finding a place that's close to the training ground, but I actually believe if he doesn't sort out mentally how to be Arne Slot, head coach of Liverpool Football Club, and not the man taking over for Jurgen Klopp, legend of Liverpool Football Club, he will fail whether or not Mo Salah goes back to the high apparatus notes or Nunez wins the Ballon d'Or, right? I honestly believe he'll fail because I think when times get tough, and they will get tough because they get tough for every manager, he will lose the men in the room. And Klopp never did that, maybe not until the last couple of weeks, and he didn't really lose them as much as they were as tired as he was, and we could see how tired he was. So for me, step one, Arn, is come in and be yourself. You know, change some of the office furniture, reorganize the desk, put it on the other side of the building, flirt with a different tea lady. I don't care what it is. Sit in a different seat, but be on slot. Because I truly believe that these supporters will get behind this man and these players will get behind this man. Because I think Jurgen knew this club was ready for change. And it feels to me like they got it right. We're going to see whether they did. But I think we'll know mid-fall because there will be a rocky patch around then. And I think how he responds to that first rocky patch is going to tell us a lot. So my recommendation, unslap, be yourself and find yourself and don't try to find Jurgen's replacement.
I think that's a great point. You know, I think that's probably the argument. It probably is the correct answer as well. Like, you can't be having imposter syndrome on the first day. Do you know what I mean? You have to go in and act like you belong. Do you know what I mean? I completely get Galley's argument there, and I'm going to side with that actually. Yeah, let's just win every game 5-4, foot to the fence, and just be yourself, huh?
Brian, something more of that, or you got?
I'm gonna piggyback off of Galley right there. You have to be Arne Slot, not Jurgen Klopp right there. You need to actually get yourself back with us as supporters and also the squad, right, and the team. Put your stamp on this right here. And then after that, once you get your stamp on it, you get the mentality fixed. Then you go over to fixing the defense and get a number 6 and get a new left side defender. You know, those things right there that you have to do with squad. But really, first of all, right there is you got to win the squad over mentally, and also win the community over mentally. I mean, we went through 9 years of having the biggest rallier that you could probably ever have as a manager right there. You have to come in now and be yourself and be that rally with your thumbprint on it right there as you as Arne Slot, not you as Jurgen Klopp's replacement. That's my biggest thing right there. I think he's got all the tools to succeed in here, but this is how he utilizes those tools and arranges them to go there to fit his own self. But yeah, so I'm with Galley right there. He's got to be Arne Slot, not Jurgen Klopp.
Vishak, more of the same for you in terms of what he needs to get done once he steps in as Liverpool manager?
Yeah, so I actually have a different opinion on this. So as I said before, he needs to fix Nunez's shooting. If he does that, we'll win the league, we'll win the quadruple, we'll win the sextuple. Nunez will win the Ballon d'Or. He missed 38 chances this season. He got, I think, 36 GA if I'm not wrong. If he scores all of them, he can get over 70, 75 GA. And that's Messi, Ronaldo numbers. Haaland would be left in the Adas. There's no competition. Nunez, Ballon d'Or. I'm not saying he should score all of them, but if he even finishes half of those chances, man, he's unstoppable. It's right there for us to grab. And if he does it, then I guess we could be looking at a few more Prems in the future. That's it.
Well, whoever is going to be in charge of trying to get Darwin Nunez off that huddle, off that, over that hump, is going to have his job cut out for him. Serzi, we're probably going to be closing this with you. What do you think a big Arne Slot has to do next year to kind of establish himself as Liverpool manager? The first thing he needs to do, rather.
First thing, I echo what Gally, Kazi, and Brian have said. His most important thing that he can do as Liverpool manager is that first press conference, and that's when he's going to win or lose us, and that's when he's going to win and lose everyone watching him. So then first words that come out of his mouth, that's when he's going to have either people on board or he's going to lose people. In terms of on the field, build that team around McAllister and Elliott, get a proper defensive midfield in, McAgow up front, supplying a forward line. But yeah, those two things, those are the biggest things that you can do as a Liverpool manager.
Well, gentlemen, it's been fun, right? This has been a very long show, 1 hour 39. Wow, and I did not expect us to get this done. Listen, please, everyone, unmute your mics for me. If anyone has some final thoughts as we close out officially the 2023-2024 season here at American Scouser, heading into the summer. Any final thoughts from anyone before we close?
I just want to thank you, John.
John.
You made the impossible task look simple.
Yeah, so, well done, John. And I just want to mention
that's a
Has anyone seen Mo Salah's new haircut?
I couldn't have done it without you guys. Listen, I was surprised as how big the panel was. And listen, if we do this again for preseason, I'm all for it.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Are you
before-
saying I'm fat?
I mean,
No, Mac, never, Macca. First of all, I like living. Second,
Let's throw. I want to throw this out there. You know, we John, you know, you see the message from the boss, John Demand. You did an awesome job hosting. I do love how you said, now let's all take ourselves off mute. And then we all talked over each other, which is the first time in the whole 90 minutes we did it, which was brilliant. But let's also like throw a quick second here. And let's recognize people like Sparky Parky, people like Steve Cook, people like Ryan Thompson, who have been with us, Sir Z, you know, not just the contributors, but those who come in every single week, every single show, and are constantly giving us content, listening to our idiots talk. I'm pretty sure if I saw Facebook right, Sparky Parky is literally on holiday in Barcelona, and that dude is listening to us blokes talk about what just happened in the last 12 months. So I think we're doing something right here, and I just want to give a big thank you to all the listeners, all the viewers all season, and most importantly, every one of you on the screen for your contributions. We had our biggest year at American Scouser that we've ever had, with growth on Instagram, growth on YouTube. We're going to have an awesome summer with new content, more video, more edits, more opportunities for people to get involved. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been involved, who's been listening all year, and who continues to support our growth. Because, you know, we aren't stopping here, right? Like we started this during the Klopp era with an intention of bringing it up. And I think our plan is to make it even better. So I guess I'm kicking off the first summer of American Scouser 2.0. And you guys are all going to play a huge part of it, including all the listeners. So, John, I'll let you wrap it up, but that's my kind of going out in style.
lovely.
Just a big thank you.
That was lovely. That was, you know, that was.
Yeah,
really
I was
nice.
like, what are you passing it to me for? That's perfect.
I know, yeah.
Like,
It's like going to fucking Adele in concert and then going, "Do you want to sing after me?" No.
It's a good point.
Hell no,
It's a good point, right? I'll pull myself into the made square here on the Brady Bunch, and I'll clean us up on our way out. So if you're listening right now and you are not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, what the hell's wrong with you? Get over there, give it a subscription. Check us Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Reckless Coffee brought to you with all these fun faces, as I like to call it, Timuchin and Friends. Monday nights, you get me and Bickler pretty much annoying Timuchin for an hour after trivia. And on Thursday night, you get an awesome trio, followed occasionally by me and Matoush on fantasy. But we promise we're coming back better next year. We're going to have Premier League content, and we want to get more people involved. So if you're not involved yet, send us a message. Let's go. And why not? We should mention the Patreon site. Thank you, Kazi. We have all kinds of levels. And don't forget the website. And I want to thank all the writers who continue to pump out new content. We try not to make clickbait. We try not to make things that make you feel disgusted as a supporter. We are truly the voice of supporters, and we are all funded with zero money, people. So please get involved, help us out. And if you think you could give us a like, a share, or you know someone that might like it, please send it to them as well, because we really care about this, and we do it for all of you. And we do it so we can all get together, because we don't really have friends. All right, everyone. Have an awesome Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
We will all see you back. We will be tomorrow morning. We will be rocking and rolling. We will be back this week. And we're going to be back next season better than ever. Up the onslaught era.
Hey,
all right, everyone.
end the stream, John. Fucking love it.
La, la, la.
Where's Maka's porn music when we need it, people?
Yeah, I'm leaving that for Maka.
To nobody's end.
All right, thanks, guys.